All right, welcome back to our sailboat construction video series. I'm Wahid Tanner, and in the previous video, I was choosing between three different sailboats based on some criteria that I had. Well, I've narrowed that down to two, and let's get into a description of these two, and then we'll also switch over and start talking about, once we choose one of them, how we're going to finance it. All right, let's switch over. Here we go. All right, so the two that I wanted more information on was the Eco 6 and the Eco 520. The other one I just felt was a little bit possibly a bit too expensive. It was also a long build, and it just didn't meet all the criteria that I wanted. I think that these two eco plans are better. So the first thing that I did was to order the study plans for both of these boats. The full plans, you could, if you want to order just the full plans, but I wasn't sure which one I was going to go with. So you can see that for both of these, the plans for this one is $180, but you can click here to get the study plans. And the study plans usually might go for, anywhere from $15 to $30, $35, maybe $20, who knows. But it's a lot cheaper. And I think it's well invested when you're trying to decide if this is the boat for you to go ahead and get those study plans. And the main benefit that I got out of the study plans, other than a more detailed description of the boat, was the materials list. So both of these have study plans, the Eco 6 and the Eco 520. Both of these, if you scroll down, you can get the study plans by clicking here. So that's what I did. And while I was looking at those study plans, one of my desires, not the absolute requirement, was I would like to have a full toilet on the boat. And the Eco 6 has that, but I'm not really sure of the size exactly. So the study plans don't give, exact measurements. It says there's room for a toilet. How big? I would, I've done some research and I found that, there are electric pumping toilets and there are manual pumping toilets. And one of the things I'm worried about is the electric toilet failing in the middle of a journey. So I think I'm going to go with the manual. The problem with the manual is you've got your toilet and off to the side you've got this pumping action. So the toilet is wider than a normal toilet. So I'm not sure how wide. So I might need to, even if I got the Eco 6, I might need to modify the plans. Even though the plans have a toilet, I might still need to modify them. I wasn't sure. The final deciding factor was, I was talking with my wife, and she brought up that if my plan is to sell this boat later, that the Eco 6 is just slightly over the legal limit for most states in the United States. It's around, it's just over 9 feet, not quite 9.5 feet wide. So maybe that's not a problem, but I didn't want any hassles with a potential buyer who wanted a trailerable catamaran to have to think twice about whether they're going to get in trouble with the police by driving this boat down the road without a overwide permit. And who wants to get an overwide permit every time you want to take the boat to the lake or the river or down to the ocean or something like that? So I decided to go with the Eco 520. And yes, the plans don't include a dedicated toilet, but since I might even have to end up modifying the toilet on the Eco 6 anyway, I think I'm going to go with the Eco 520. Now, if you look at the, let me scroll down here a little bit. I think we can see right here the way this boat is laid out is it's an asymmetrical hull, which means that the outside edges of both hulls are straight. So this helps with the boat being able to have I guess, resistance in the water so that the sails can have greater impact. If you don't have this, then you have to have a dagger board or something like that to put down into the water to provide that resistance so that the boat resists moving side to side in the water. You want it to go straight forward. You want it to go straight. You don't want it to be moving side to side. So you either have to put dagger boards down in the water to help prevent that, or you go with a design like the Eco 520 that has straight sides already. This also, by the way, simplifies the construction because it's easier to build these hulls with the flat sides, and there's no dagger board that needs to be built. And because of that, I think I could probably extend the inside hulls inward a bit and thereby widening the amount of room that I have inside these hulls to provide room for a toilet. There's already on the plans room for a folding table and a pantry area. And on the other side, what would be the starboard side here, the bunk extends all the way to the end of the hull. I'm thinking about not having it go all the way to the end and putting an enclosed room here. And by making the inside hulls closer together, it might extend the length of the boat, but that's okay. It will still stay within the legal limit, but this, I think, will give room for a toilet. So once I decided on going with the Eco 520, the next thing to get is the full plans. So I went ahead and ordered the full plans, and so got that step out of the way, got the DXF drawing. I think they're called DXF. The AutoCAD files, and got a viewer for the AutoCAD files for my computer, so I'm able to open them up and view them. I probably will not be printing them full size, but the benefit you get from the actual plans is real measurements now. You don't get that in the study plans. All right, so now that we've got that and the study plans have the actual list of materials, so with that list of materials, I was able to kind of guess that the wood supply for the Eco 6 was probably going to run somewhere around $7,000, and the wood supply for the Eco 520 is probably somewhere in the neighborhood of about $4,000. That's just for the plywood and some of the fir strips that would be used for some of the bulkheads and some of the joints and the stringers. So then the question becomes, how to finance something like this. And the one nice thing is for a type of project like this, it's going to take several months. If I had a supply of this type of plywood that I need nearby at a reasonable cost, the question of financing may not be even necessary. Just go buy a sheet of plywood whenever it's needed and just kind of financing it, month to month as it goes along. But the problem here is, okay, so let's talk about the plywood. The plywood we need for this boat is what's called marine grade plywood. And if you go to your local big box store, they might tell you that they have marine grade plywood. What they're really talking about is plywood where the wood sheets have been impregnated with insecticides and fungicides so that nothing wants to eat the wood or grow in it, and they've used glue that is water resistant. That's not really marine grade plywood. I'm not even sure if the epoxy will bond as strong with the wood that's been treated like that. So I'd rather have just plain wood. and you really need better glue. The plywood is laminated, the sheets of wood are alternating grains, and they're glued together. And real marine grade plywood uses a glue that is waterproof. So if the wood does get wet, it's not going to dissolve the glue and then the layers start separating. That's no good. So, real marine grade plywood uses a waterproof glue, and the wood itself is just naturally rot resistant. So, you don't have to worry about treating it. All you got to do is make sure that you've got good glue and good wood. So the types of marine grade plywood that I'm looking at is called Meranti marine plywood or Oakham marine plywood. And there's not that many places that sell this type of plywood. And I happen to be in the middle part of Texas, and there is a store a couple hours drive from me that has the marine grade plywood. It's a long drive. It's not something that I want to just casually go out and buy one sheet of plywood. But the big problem for me is the price of the plywood at this store, actually in most of the stores here in Texas, is about twice as expensive as what I found in places like Florida or North Carolina or Maine, or places, I think that maybe even in Washington, but I think that these places have more boating activity, and the suppliers of the plywood are offering them for quite a bit less price than what I can get in any of the stores nearby where I am. So I'm looking at buying all of the plywood all at once. And the for the Eco 520, like I said, I'm looking around $4,000 total for just the plywood, around $3,500. So this is something that, because I'm ordering it from far away, I'm gonna have to pay shipping costs. And the shipping cost is like $400 for shipping. That's still a lot cheaper than paying the higher prices per sheet and driving it home myself. It works out, I save like a couple $1,000s by just paying the $400 shipping and ordering all the wood at once. So, one of the problems is, myself and, maybe you, do you have, $3,500 sitting around that you can spend all at once for this? Maybe this video will help and you can realize what's going to be needed and you can save up for it. I'd like to get started right away. So I actually took out a loan. I took out a loan for around $11,000. And part of that is going to be used to purchase all the plywood all at once for this boat. So that is pretty much all that I have right now. That's the update. So, I chose a boat, the Eco 520, got the study plans, used that to evaluate it, to choose and decide, yes, this really is the boat that I want to build. Then I ordered the full plans. And the list of materials was actually in the study plans. It's in the full plans also, but it was already included in the study plans. So based on that list of materials, I can start to put together a budget, figure out how much all of this is going to cost, and go ahead and start ordering some of it. And I almost forgot, another big item is the epoxy and the fiberglass cloth. It turns out also that the fiberglass needed for the Eco 6 is about twice as much fiberglass and therefore about twice as much epoxy resin as going to be needed for the Eco 520. So I'm looking at saving about half of the cost of the epoxy by going with the Eco 520 as well. I'm guessing it will probably cost about $1,000 just for the epoxy and the hardener. And I haven't started getting really accurate estimates on the fiberglass and the carbon fibers yet, but I'm thinking it'll probably be around $750 for the fiberglass and the carbon fibers. All right, so that's all I have to report today, and that will be all. Thank you very much. Bye.